Hello, it is Rachel from 7 and All, and I got asked a question recently about how to deal with, how to combat overwhelm and stress for the homeschool mom. And I think that's really important, so we're going to talk about that today. Overwhelm and burnout are what I call joy stealers. And when mom's not doing well, it's not a recipe for success for your homeschool. It's not a recipe for joy. So if you are struggling with overwhelm or burnout, I would not recommend to just ignore that and push through and try as hard as you can. But I would recommend to think of some intentional strategies and intentional ways of dealing with this so that you can continue in your homeschool without becoming totally burned out, without losing your joy. So today I am going to share 6 major thoughts, 6 major ideas for you to contemplate and for you to think about what new habits or what new things could you put into place in your life to help reduce overwhelm, reduce stress and burnout as a homeschool mom. Now my first point is actually a question. How's your sleep? And I know as a parent that you are often not really in control of how much you sleep. That is not a part of most of our experience. I am right with you there. My younger son did not sleep through the night until he was 21 months old. He was just not really a fan of sleeping. But we all need sleep. All parents need sleep. And making sure that you have enough sleep can help so much with feeling like you are on top of the work that you need to get done. And there will be different seasons with different amounts of sleep, but I would invite you to consider what can you do? There are things that you can't do, but what can you do to work towards making sure you get enough sleep? Maybe you can simply go to bed earlier. Maybe you can give up, watching a TV show at night or staying up and getting some work done. Maybe you need to set that aside for this season and just go to bed earlier. I once read in a book that sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a nap. And I think that is so true because when our bodies just don't have enough rest, it is very hard to do what is required of us and for us to do it with a happy heart. So just look at your life. There are seasons, and they last much longer than just the newborn season, where it is hard to get enough sleep. But think about what strategies could you implement in your life to get enough sleep. And I have not yet reached the phase of parenthood where I could lay down and take an afternoon nap. My children must be watched with eyes at all times. So I very much understand you can't always take a nap as a parent unless maybe you kind of hold on to all of them, put on a TV show and sleep while you hold on to them. But find ways that are realistic in your own life and schedule to make sure you are getting enough sleep. The second major point is to know yourself. And I bring this up a lot in my homeschool videos. I think knowing yourself well is very important to many areas of life, but it is important for being able to deal with overwhelm and live in a non-overwhelmed way. When we know ourselves, we need to be able to identify what activities actually drain us and exhaust us, and what activities are filling to us, what activities actually don't drain us at all and help fill us and build us up. Because sometimes we can end up blaming, when we don't know ourselves, we can end up blaming the wrong activities for our exhaustion. For example, I might be thinking, I've got so much housework to do. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I have to mop the floors, I have to clean the bathrooms, I have to make the food, I have to do all these things, and I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed because of the housework. But when I take a step back to really think about it, I can think, actually, I don't mind sweeping and mopping floors at all. It's, kind of cathartic, working with your body. It doesn't take a lot of brain work, so you can be contemplating, daydreaming, thinking about different things. You could be listening to music and rocking out. That activity doesn't actually drain me, but maybe what does drain me is dealing with conflict between my children, dealing with my children constantly fighting with each other and screaming and stealing each other's toys, and I'm constantly having to deal with that. Maybe that's what is making me feel exhausted at the end of a long day, not the fact that I need to mop my floors. And so then when I can identify the things that are draining me, I can work very intentionally and very strategically on addressing those things that do drain me. The conflict in the family, conflict in relationships, working on building the skills in my children so that that is not an ongoing project. So that's where I would recommend knowing yourself well enough to know what are the things that are actually overwhelming you. What are the things that are actually draining you? Because maybe the first things that you think of are not actually those things. Maybe you're okay with mopping the floor, but it's the constant screaming and fighting that is a big problem that needs to be addressed. Number 3, once you have identified which activities and chores and tasks fill you and which activities and tasks drain you during the week, which responsibilities fill you and which drain you, then I would actively work toward achieving a better balance of filling versus draining activities in the week. None of us can live on a constant cycle of things that totally drain us and totally exhaust us. We need a balance. And you can write these activities down. I would encourage you to get a piece of paper, write them down. Look at what you have to do in a week and think, how can I achieve a better balance of these activities in my life? So, for example, maybe you identify that living and working in a constantly messy home really just drains you and it leaves you feeling overwhelmed and unproductive all the time. Okay, deal with that. Take some time off from your regular routine. Make a schedule, make a plan, spend some time on training your kids, spend some time on training yourself. What are you going to do to make sure that your house is not constantly messy? What would a non-overwhelming house look like to you? Are there certain areas where you're okay with your kids leaving their toys out in this area while they're playing throughout the day, but then other areas you feel better with keeping them tidy? Whatever the plan needs to be, make the plan, enact the plan, spend time on training. It's going to take some upfront extra work, but doing this extra work at the front will help in the long term for reducing the strain of this draining task on you, just the feeling of your house is constantly messy and you constantly need to be doing something about it. And on the other hand, maybe you need to increase the filling activities. Maybe having quality time with your spouse, with your husband, really just helps energize you and fill you. But maybe you've been feeling like you have so much work to do, you've got so many big dreams, so every evening after the kids are going to bed, you are taking an hour or two to just work on your work and do tasks. But those aren't filling you so much as having some quality time, sitting down for a cuddle, for watching a show, for a conversation, playing a board game. Maybe you need to take a few nights off from work in a week and spend those nights with your husband, and that will end up filling you, re-energizing you, and making you feel more able to do your work the rest of the time. So for each person, it's going to look different, getting to this healthy balance of filling and draining activities, but I encourage you to work toward it. 4th big idea, protect your schedule at all costs. Be very wary of overscheduling. I think many families have a little bit of FOMO in this day and age. They have a little bit of feeling like they want to be a part of every single thing. Especially for those who are introverts, and I am introverted, having too many outside activities in the week can be extremely draining. Having somewhere to go, something to do every single day, that's a problem. And I would say, look at what you can do. Look at what are the activities that are really essential, what are the activities that are really core to your family, your priorities, who you are and who your kids are, and do those, but don't do everything. Protect your schedule. Leave time for margin. Leave time to be at home. You don't need to have every single weekend you're going. Every single night of the week you have something to do, and then you've got doctor's appointments on 5 different days. That is not really sustainable. So whatever it takes to have less places to go, I would work on that. As a homeschool family, as homeschool families, I think we do have an advantage that our kids don't have to be at a school all day, 5 days a week, and then we have to squeeze in activities into all the margins. I think we can realize actually we don't need to do everything. We can just spend time at home as a family. We can have slower mornings. We can have slower evenings. And I think that helps a lot with overwhelm. So think about what could you cut out of your schedule, especially as far as outside activities if you're feeling overwhelmed. Number 5, realize that you can't do all things in all seasons, and that seasons don't actually last forever. I think so many of us kind of rush through life thinking that we want to have all the experiences, we want to do all the things, and we want to do them right now. I have seen so many families that when they have 3 or 4 very small children, they're like, you know what would be really fun right now? Let's get a puppy. Like, I wouldn't recommend that. You know, there could be a time to get a puppy, and maybe that's not when you're up 3 to 4 times at night with a newborn, when you have a clingy toddler, when your 4-year-old is still, you know, learning a lot of things about how to live well with others. Maybe that's not the right time to add in yet another little being to train and to take care of every physical need for. So that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about, is we don't have to do all the things in all the seasons. I'll give you one example for me. You know, I grew up watching my mom always teach Sunday school and children's church classes. That's something I really admire about her. That's actually something I'm pretty good at too. I am a good teacher. I like to teach kids. I love working with kids. Let me tell you something. Since my oldest son was born, I have not taught any Sunday school or children's church classes, because I realized that in this season, when I'm going to church with a nursing baby, or with a toddler who might be teething and crying, or with an older toddler who's just kind of a little clingy and doesn't want to have mommy up at the front of a classroom, you know, talking to all these other kids in these in these more group situations, he's gonna feel like he needs mommy. In this season, I'm like, you know, nope, I'm not at a season of life where I can be a responsible teacher, because in this situation, because I still need to take care of my very young children who are still going to need me. I'm not going to feel like, oh, I can't do a good job in teaching my class, and I can't do a good job of taking care of my kids in church. I'm just going to do one thing for right now. I'm just going to take care of my small children at church, and that's enough for right now. There will be other seasons. There will be times when I no longer have babies or toddlers, when I can feel like, yes, I can make it through a whole class time without my children needing me. That's just one example of a way that I've said I'm not going to do all the things in all the seasons. And in this season, this is one thing that I won't do. So I would encourage you to identify the needs in your current season of life, and then identify the wants. And you're probably not going to be able to do all the wants. You do need to do all the needs. They are needed. But maybe pick a few of the most important wants and do those. But don't try to do them all. There will be other seasons when you can have those wants. Be patient. And my 6th point and final point is, don't do it all alone. I begin every day, before I even get out of bed, with a prayer to say, God, give me strength for this day. Give me the energy, give me the wisdom, give me the courage that I need for this day. I am a believer. Some of you are, some of you aren't. But for me, going into my days knowing that I'm not alone and I can call on my Father for help, that's huge for me. I don't want to face my days alone, besides just God, which is kind of a big deal. But besides Him, don't try to do it all alone. There's something with modern motherhood that makes us feel like we need to do all of it. We need to be amazing parents. We need to be amazing homeschoolers. We need to keep all of our house clean ourselves. We need to cook all of our food from scratch ourselves. And we also feel, the women feel like we need to still contribute to the family, so we probably need to have some kind of part-time job or full-time job or side job, because we're not contributing to our family by all the other things we do, only if we make money, you know. I'm being a little sarcastic here, but it's true, right? We're feeling like we need to add in everything together, but we weren't meant to do this and all of this and the things we need to do. We weren't meant to do that all alone. And not everything needs to fall on mom. As your kids get older, kids can play a big role in the work of the household, in the work of the family. I'm not yet at that stage of life where my kids helping around the house is helpful, but I still involve them. I involve them in washing dishes. I involve them in mopping and sweeping and vacuuming. I involve them in all of it right now when it does slow me down, because these skills matter for the future. It will be helpful in the future. It will be helpful for them in the future to have these life skills. But I would say from very, very early on, from when your child can walk, be involving them in the work of the house. And as they grow, they will be able to play a part in housework and in managing the home. Involve your husband. He's part of this too. You guys are a team. Think about, in what ways can you guys best help each other as a team? In what ways do you have different strengths, different activities that you really enjoy? Perhaps your husband enjoys cleaning bathrooms. My husband does, so he typically cleans the bathrooms. So think about what ways can you work as a team with your spouse. And besides that, I would really recommend having a village, cultivating a village. I know that so many people do not have one. If it is possible, I would recommend making active life choices to try to have a village, to have people nearby in your community that you can call on for help when you need it, babysitters that you can have. It is not an accident that my husband and I moved all the way across the world and ended up in the same neighborhood as my parents. That was an intentional choice, that we wanted to enter parenthood nearby them and to have them as part of our lives in this season. That was an intentional choice we made. It was a bit extreme, perhaps, but it was important to us. So you can make life choices to try to give yourself a village. You can make the kind of choices that cultivate good relationships to build your village. And it's possible that you don't have a village right now. And that's tough. I know that that is a reality for so many people. And if you are finding yourself in early motherhood and overwhelmed and feeling like you don't have a village, if you are feeling like that right now, then I want you to remember this feeling. And I want you to decide that when you are no longer in this season, when you are older, when you are past it, when you are an older mom with older kids, with grown kids, and when you see other people in this situation, I want you to resolve to be the village that you didn't have. Because I think the best village is those made up of the moms who realized how much they needed one. So perhaps you can't have a village right now, but maybe you can use this experience in the future to help somebody else. I hope I was able to encourage you in this video to continue walking forward in this beautifully mundane homeschooling, houseworking life. But I hope I was able to encourage you that it doesn't have to be overwhelming, that it doesn't have to lead to burnout. I hope that you take away a few ideas from this that you can implement, a few ideas that can give you some hope for homeschool without burnout. Please leave me any comments down below that you may have or any questions. And if you have a chance, please do give this video a like. If you're new to this channel, you can subscribe for more homeschool videos with 7 and all. All right, I'll be seeing you. Bye.